Hi, welcome back to 1 Year of Leadership. Happy New Year! It's 2019, and I don't know about you, but I just can't believe it's here already. Well, I want to ask you a question. Did you make any resolutions? Do you ever wonder why so many resolutions fall flat and just don't happen? Well, it's because when people make resolutions, they make them in a few different ways. So sometimes when somebody makes a resolution, in their mind they're thinking, man, I really hope I can do this. And then other times, people will make a resolution and they think to themselves, I really plan on doing this. And then there are others that will make a resolution and they say, I am going to do it. And it's a commitment. And that's the topic for this week, commitments. As leaders, it is critical to meet commitments all the time. And I probably don't have to tell you this, but you know that if you don't meet commitments, it can break trust, it can break down relationships, it can damage your credibility. So you've got to meet commitments, and most people understand this on the big stuff. I got to meet my goal for the year. I made a big commitment to my boss or one of the people that works for me, and I got to come through on that. And so it's really critical to meet those commitments. Most people get that. But I do see a lot of leaders fall down on the small stuff. And this can become very insidious and sneak up on you. And that's what I want to talk about this week. So let me give you an example. Let's say that you tell somebody, hey, I'm going to give you a call tomorrow, and you forget to call them back. Well, guess what? You missed a commitment. And you may not think it's a big deal because the day after, that person sends you a text message and says, hey, I thought you were going to call me. Oh, you pick up the phone and call them. You have that conversation. No harm, no foul, right? Well, maybe. Is it the first time you've done it? You know, if you do it one time, you're right. It's not a big deal. But what if it's a pattern? And this is where I see a lot of people challenged with meeting commitments. So you might think, well, it's not a pattern with me. I do it maybe 1-2 times a week. No big deal. Well, 1 or 2 times a week could be a pattern. And it also depends on how important that small commitment is. See, because sometimes the small things are the big things. And actually, it's more often than not. So if you miss a small commitment and you miss it once a week, twice a week, and the same person sees it, they start to develop an opinion of you that you can't meet your commitments. And if you can't meet your commitments on the small things, then why in the world would you meet your commitments on the big things? And it breaks down that trust and it damages your credibility, same as if you miss something big. And it doesn't even have to be missing altogether. It could be even more insidious than that. It could be that you told somebody, hey, I'm going to call you tomorrow. And then you remembered the day after and you proactively called them. They didn't even have to call you out. Or what if you just missed a due date? Hey, I'll send that info to you by Friday, and you got busy and so you sent it over Monday. No big deal, right? It might be. And I have seen so many leaders struggle with this because they didn't realize how many times it was happening. And you know what? It's probably difficult to measure that with yourself. But I'm going to help you. So stay tuned. Here's what I want you to do. When you commit to somebody, I want you to write it down. And it may not be writing with a pen and paper. Maybe it's typing on a keyboard or in your phone. But make a record of it. And here's what I do. If I tell somebody I'm going to get something done that day, what I do is I put it on my to-do list. I keep a to-do list, and mine's digital, so I've gone from paper now that I have that online. But I keep a list every day of the stuff I need to get done. And if I tell somebody I'm going to do this for you today, it goes on my to-do list. And I make sure that I flag it to ensure that I know it has to be done today. You figure out what works best for you. If you want to write it down on a piece of paper, you want to use an app, you do whatever you need to do, but capture it so you know that it has to be done by the end of the day. If you tell somebody you're going to do something in the future, I will call you tomorrow, or I will have that email to you next week. Use your calendar. All I do is go in and set an event on the day that I said I was going to do something. First thing in the morning when I go in, it'll say, call Jeremy about X, Y, and Z. Okay, I told him I was going to call him today. It pops up on my calendar. There is no excuse not to do it. So just staying organized will remind you. And trust me, if you're missing small commitments on a regular basis, it will chip away at your credibility and people's ability to trust you. And that is one of the most fundamental and foundational elements of leading, is building trust. So, as we ring in the new year, just remember, if you're going to make a resolution, commit to it. And if you commit to somebody at work, write it down. Thanks, and I'll see you next week.